Morning all, how are we today? It's cold. It's definitely not warm anymore. Till December is coming up on us really quickly now. End of the month of November. I have a busy day. It's not an easy day today because lots going on. An old client of mine that I did some work for 2-3 years ago, something like that. Came back last month, we're doing a little bit of additional work on an API I created for them. The API is on its way out. It won't be around for much longer, maybe another year or so, as they are replacing the back-end system it talks to. But these projects never go to plan and never as quick as you'd expect. So we have a little bit more time. They want a few fixes and they're booked in for this week. Today the 30th. This week is mostly working for them. I think they've booked 5 days, so I'll bleed into the middle of next week sometime. Next week is now complicated because of universities breaking up. So my son's coming back next week. Who knows? It's going to be interesting. Last day of the month means invoice day, so I shall be invoicing today as well. That needs to be done. I've got to deploy for another client this week. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. But before we do any of that, shall we do a little bit of open source stuff, a little bit of coding stuff, see what's going on in the world of non-work, development work that's non-work. Where's my desktop? There's my desktop. So how's everyone else? I have tea. Always got my tea. Got a tickle in my throat as well, so it might be a bit coffee today. Not coffee. Might be coughing a bit today. We shall see. I think that was my printer calibrating in the background there. Anyway, this is Rodeo, my little Go uploader application. Not sure I want to do much on it today. We shall see. This isn't going on in my world at the moment, and there's also some stuff in RST to PDF that's come up. Let's have a look at that. Where is it? It's here. A couple of interesting new ones have turned up over the last few days. On Friday, Lorna was streaming and she introduced this GitHub Actions as a CI platform ticket. So later Friday, I did a little bit of work on that to move it forward. Main issue there was one test fewer on the GitHub Actions CI compared to the Travis CI. So I looked at that and worked out what was going on. So that's waiting for Lorna. Binary Kitten's done some work. That's quite cool. They said they were going to do some stuff for us last Friday, and it looks like they've done it, which is pretty awesome. And the CI has passed, so that's a good sign. And then it looks like Stephen has done some work as well, which is nice. I raised a PR on, was it Friday or Saturday? Or something or another, and Stephen merged it. And he noticed that something else needs changing, a .depends file or something, so I might need to look at that at some point. But this one is failing. So I saw this come up in my email, and I was looking at email over the weekend that you've raised a PR that then failed on the Travis. So I thought I'd take a quick look at why it failed, because it didn't look like that much of a problem. I assume it's actually showing a problem that we had I didn't know about. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Very interesting. So, let's not have that up there. Do that. So what we've got here, what have we got here? What we've got here is a commit by Stephen where he, well, not by Stephen, but I don't know, did Stephen do it? Let's have a look. XD. No, TV Passin did it. TV Passin fixed relative import problems for Python 2.3 compatibility. So we did need Python 3 compatibility. This is a long while ago now, 7th of January. And we missed something around here. So we've added a try except the for loop. In fact, maybe it was already there, but the side effect is that we've now got a situation where an except gets called. Ah, I see, yeah, that continues there. Means that we lose the fact this except happens. That's what Stephen has been fixing. So Stephen has been fixing the problems related to the fact we have two exceptions not catching, or we're stalling an exception or something like that. You can see it here better, I think. That's interesting. He's put a... why that's tidied up like that. Looks neater. Oh, I see. Oh, no, I see. Yeah, it's just neater. That's all. That's fine. And then it's down here somewhere where we had the accept issue. There, this catch input error. I wonder if we can find that. It's in create pi. So let's look at the current one. JRST. Does everyone use auto jump or equivalent? I think in Z shell it's called Z. The ability to jump to a given directory is really, really helpful. So open up PyCharm. And here where are we? Check out master, git pull, up, free master. Make sure we've got the latest master whilst we're here. Yes, someone's made a change. Oh, that was me contributing, that's what I did. But now. Amazing how quickly you forget what you were doing. Take very long, does it? Suddenly you've forgotten something. Right, create PDF. Line 812, something like that. 812. No, clearly not 812. Or more changes have been made. I wonder where it is. Doesn't look like it should be that far down. Just a few lines there. Looking for that line. Oh, 1812. Oh yeah, not 812, 1812. Oh goodness me. It's going to be one of those kind of days. More tea is required. So this is original code. And we got a bug report about this. I saw the bug report somewhere. Where's the bug report? Did Stephen reference it? Yes, he did. 920. Go back to file changed. There's 920. For executing correctly, the accept code is never executed since all import errors are caught inside the try statement. As a result, an error message in one case attempts to load non-existing extensions is not very relevant. This is the code. You see this code here. You will immediately see the outer accept statement, which will cause a clean exit with appropriate error message, can never be reached because all the input errors are caught by the inner one. This one here. So what we are doing is we're iterating over the list of names, attempting to load it. If we fail, we carry on. But this bit of code here never ever runs. This raises a system exit. It's an interesting. I think if it had been me, I would have moved all that code to there and called it a day. That would have made more sense to me. So if I was fixing this, I probably would have just done that. Along those lines. And called it done or something like that. But clearly, not as he did that. If we look at what Stephen has done, down here. Stephen has, actually let's pull it locally. Is that GH checkout? What's the number? I don't remember. 554. Oh, maybe you don't need the hash. There we go. So we go back to PyCharm. There's a change. I see what he's done. Yeah, it's clearer this way, isn't it? They've introduced a variable called exc. Exception. Short for exception, do you reckon? Must be, mustn't it? Or error? Exception. Must be short for exception. So we set the exception to none. Iterate over our modules. There's a for else statement here. Not how the else works. And on here, no Python. My Python's not very good, so this was as much a learning exercise as anything else. And on here, I might even know it better than I do. This is Python. So Python is columnar. Uses a lot of tabs, white space sensitive. So this else is clearly related to this for loop. And we have a for else statement. I wonder why we do that. Let's look it up. Else Python. That's how you spell Python. Set up. My keyboard is clearly not quite in the right place, and I'm slightly off by one all the time. There we go. There's a for else in Python tips. Why does Python use it? Let's look at the Stack Overflow thing. I tend to like Stack Overflow because I tend to like the way people write answers. I understand how this construct works. For I in raised to 10, print I. If I equals 9, print too big, else print complete successfully. I don't understand why else is using it as a keyword here, since it's just a code in question only runs if the for block does not complete. That is exactly the assumption I made. I looked at that and assumed this code only ran if this for loop did nothing. Which is the opposite to what it does. No matter how I think about it, I can't progress simultaneously from the for statement to the else block. To me, continue or continue with makes more sense. I'm trying to turn myself read as such. I'm wondering how Python coders read this construct in their head or aloud. Yeah, that's a good question. So the actual Stack Overflow question here isn't actually what I was looking for, but it has actually brought to mind how this works. The print statement always runs, or maybe the print statement only runs if at least one element of the for loop runs. Maybe that's it. Yeah, there's a good comment there. You might like to translate it to then in your head. It's a strange construct, isn't it? Using in conjunction with for loops. It basically means find some item in the iterable, else if none was found, do. But this is using it in a completely different way. It's worth mentioning the else clause will run even if the for loop has values unless a break statement is explicitly run as in this example. Okay, right, so we're gradually learning how this works now. Morning, John, how are you today? You're watching me learn some Python because my Python is not very good. And we're learning about the for else loop. That makes no sense. The for else construct. And we've got two examples in this Stack Overflow question. So here's one. For I in range 10, else print completed successfully. And this one here, for in objects, print no object found. So I don't know how this works. So I'm going to copy this code here. Let's run it and see what it does. Because for else is not working the way in my brain I think this should be working. So I'm extremely confused. So let's open up a terminal. Let's go to our temp directory. Here's a temp directory. Python. cd python. Okay, touch test.py. Vim test.py. Insert that. Okay. Actually, let's put that into a editor. I'm trying to learn Visual Studio Code at the moment, so we'll stick it into there and watch me flail around in VS Code as well. All right, let's run that. Python test.py. Too big, I'm giving up. Okay, so it did not run the else statement. That makes sense. But let's take that code out. And now all we're doing is, can you read that? Is that make it a bit bigger? That's a big window. That one. That way. There we go. Smaller. Right, so what we've got here is for I in range 10, print I, else print completed successfully. So don't do anything else. Let's take that completely. So it looks like that. Okay, so what's that going to do? That's not going to do anything because that's the wrong command. That's the right command. That's nonsense. What? That makes no sense to me. What's the point of the else statement? That else statement makes absolutely no point. There's even no sense whatsoever. Because I may as well have written that code like this. Exactly the same result. So that break is really important. Call in break. Or break in, actually. Break in now. Let's do that. So when we put a break in, the else doesn't run. That's really interesting. Also, why is that semicolon there? I didn't think Python was semicolonish. Am I still wrong? Yeah. Okay, so that's what else does. Now, how Pythonic is for else? I mean, the fact that I don't know it doesn't really mean much because I'm not really a Python person. Stephen's a Python person and he used it. So let's go back to the code that he wrote. John's not a Python person either, so maybe he's learning something about or else at the same time I am. So here we've got Stephen's change. He sets x to none. Then he does a for loop where he tries something. And John's using Ansible. Yes, that makes sense. Python will be in your future if you fall outside the YAML world. Or want to write your own module. Do they call them modules over there? That's what they call the recipes in Ansible. Probably not recipes because that kind of feels like what Chef would call them. I don't know what they call them in Ansible, which is ironic really because I use Ansible as well, but not in a particularly heavy way. But I do quite like the idea. Playbooks, that's it. Ansible playbooks containing tasks which execute modules, that's it. What I quite like about Ansible, slight tangent here, is that it's the idea of writing the state you would like the system to be in. So you kind of define the state. This system will look like this, rather than thinking about it as a consecutive set of actions that take place. You kind of define this is what it will look like, and Ansible will make sure that it will look like how you have described. I quite like that way of thinking about it. It also implies that you need to make sure that any given task that exists doesn't actually have any side effects if run a second time. Things like that. So yeah, I quite like it in that sense. Not very good at it, mind you. So good enough to have a setup for my local dev environment working with it relatively well. And like everything, it has its own terminology, as John says here. Ansible, you can have tasks, variables, defaults, and modules into a role. You get a role which is then shared. Yeah, I vaguely remember roles. Don't they have only one main.yaml file in them or something like that? Which seemed a little bit strange. Or maybe I just didn't understand that side of things enough. Who knows? But I suspect if you're into systems and managing systems and dealing with systems, that stuff like this is quite useful to know. Back in our programming world, we're setting this exception to none. We're doing a for naming names. Try module is import module break except import error as E, else this can't work, can it? Surely a break takes you out of the for loop. So if I've got 3 modules that I'm loading, the first module, I import the module, and then I break. And surely the break takes me out of the for loop. Let's look at the original code. I think you should stream about Ansible. Then I can learn about Ansible that way. That didn't work. Check out dash. Let's go back to master and have a look at this code in master. Right, so this is a code in master. Yeah, I think Stephen's been too clever for his own good. Does it take you out to the else? And there is the problem, yes. So if we go back to Stephen's code, no, it doesn't. We already know that a for loop, the else only runs if there's no break. We know that from our test code. If I take out that code, let's take out the point. So if I've got a for loop that runs to completion, then we get the else statement. If I put a break in, then it does not run the else statement. So this code does not work. That break means that we can only ever load one module. And I reckon our test has failed. What are our CI tests? So if you go back to the actual issue, it's taking longer than I expected. So we go to the actual thing. If neither of our two attempts to import the module. Oh no, maybe, no, hold on. Hold on. Wake up, Rob. No, this is working. This is... Yeah, okay, no. Yeah, okay, he does know more Python than I do. Which, let's face it, is fair. He's a Pythonista and I am not. Right, we have to go all the way back up here and actually look at the entire context, don't we? So we actually have a list of modules at this level. So for mod name in options extensions. Prefix. Right, so here's where we switch the prefix and the mod name. We do some stuff, whatever. We're going to try to import the module here. First name, path given, or mod name. Yeah, so we look for it in two different places, first name and mod name. These are terrible, terrible variable names. And that explains why we do this weird thing. Yes, okay, we're catching up now. So this module could live in two different places, so we need to check both places to import it. Or Margaret could have two possible names, more accurately. So here's our two possible names. So we tried the first one. If it fails, what's going to happen? It's going to be stored here. Then we're going to go around the loop again, and we're going to try again. If it succeeds, we're going to break. So then we press that button. So then we jump straight down to here and install the module. Good. If it fails the first time, we set this variable. If it comes round again and we fail the second time, we'll overwrite that variable and we will then run in here. So I don't think that if not is probably not required. Can presumably continue takes you out of a else statement. Python continue in else. Break continues and else clauses on loops. Else clauses on loop statements. The trouble is that's because most people use continue within a loop. Presumably, oh, I don't know. Yes, we have to continue there. Then we drop down here. Yes, we're iterating over several modules up here. So yeah, we're iterating over several modules up here, but this for loop, we're iterating over 2 possible names for a given module. I'm not actually convinced those 2 lines are required, but that's probably because I'm missing something. So that's why it's continuing. Is that continuing because we want to drop round? No, because that would be a continue 2 if we were trying to do that. Because we've got to jump out of this for loop to get to that for loop. But more importantly, we need to run this install bit at the bottom. Yeah, see, I don't think we are. See, John says, are we outside it already? I think this is considered a for loop as a whole. But maybe not. Because the problem comes that... Oh, I know. Is it worth testing? I know what's going on. Yeah, let's test it anyway to find out. But I wonder if you can jump straight over this, if that doesn't actually iterate. Something like that. Okay, so how do we test that? What's the code going to look like? For I in range of 0. Try that. Reckon that'll work? Yes, okay, so that's completely jumped round. Okay, so that's the scenario. So let's do this then. Exception equals none. What was the rest of that code? That's there. That looked right. That looks right. So what's that do? Continue. Continue not properly in loop. Okay, so John's right. That's cool. Okay, yes. So yes, the continue must be for the outer loop. So for I in outer in range of 2. Say. Do that. So Sean says he's pleased you got something right. And, glad he's following along. Yes, I'm glad you're following along as well, because otherwise I'd have gone well off the rails at this point. Let's print something here. Print start of outer loop. Percentage %d. The common, no, it's a percentage there, isn't it? Percentage outer. Like that. And here, print end of outer loop. Let's put those in and see what that does. Start of outer loop 0, start of outer loop 1. So yes, it does not print the end of outer loop because of that continue here. If I take out those 2 lines so we don't call the continue, there we go. Start of outer loop 0, completed successfully. End of outer loop. And if I change that to a 1 and then break, we won't get the completed successfully. Correct, we don't get the completed successfully. So the else in a for loop only runs if the for loop runs to the end and does not break. That is a terrible keyword. Absolutely terrible keyword for it. Oh, dearie me. Mind you, I'm not sure what a better keyword would be. I can see the argument for then. For I in range 1, then. Is that worth sticking into the SO entry? No, it's already in there. If you scroll down here, someone suggested then here, but you go down here, someone has already commented here. It's worth mentioning the else clause will run even if the for loop has values, unless a break statement is explicitly run, as in this example. and .5, the else clause has another perceived problem. There's loads of problems with this else flow. And there is no break. The else clause function is functionally redundant. Yes. Ugh. Yeah, I think all the info is in that Stack Overflow statement, in comments and whatnot. But, I don't. There. What I don't understand is how we can get into the else statement. Is it worth blogging for your own reference? Yes, it is definitely worth blogging for my own reference. So let's make a note of that. Oh, look at that. There we go. New blog post. Python's for else in Python. How's that for a title? Understanding for else in Python. No, that's actually Python. Python. Okay, have I got a... If I have got a Python category. Let's set a publish date. Tomorrow's the 1st. Let's put it next Tuesday. Yeah, you're letting into my secrets. Actually, let's make it Wednesday. So what I do is I create a blog post, set it for a future publish date. So if I do accidentally hit publish on it, it doesn't actually go live and it's half completed. That would be silly. And it also gives me a deadline. And I don't know about you, but I work better with deadlines. So ideally that post will be done by Wednesday next. Hopefully, at least. And I do that because I wrote a blog post last week on something else I learnt, which I can't remember what it was, but it publishes this week anyway, tomorrow or day after. Actually, we could look it up. It's clearly in here. Oh yeah, there we go. Using Apple Watch authentication to sudo. That's a neat trick. That's happening. Oh no, that's already in the 9th. Oh, I've got 2. Look at that, I've got 2 already queued up. Good God me. Go. Wow. Yeah, so using JEnv. Oh, that's right. I learned how to use JEnv for Java recently, related to doing OpenWith stuff. In fact, these two were both related to doing OpenWith stuff. So what I published last week around installing PHP extensions without Peckle, I learned that. And then I had problems with Java because the build environment for OpenWhisk is all Java related, and I had the wrong version of Java, so I need another version of Java. So JEnv, that's how I learned about that. So I wrote that down so I don't have to remember it next time. When I was doing that, I had to keep typing sudo in new Windows, and that was winding me up. So I worked out how to make my Apple Watch authenticate, which is also cool. That's quite a neat feature. You know, sudo minus. My Apple Watch, I can double tap on my Apple Watch and know I'm sudoed in. And that's a lovely little feature as well. No need to type my password. As long as, of course, the biometrics and the watch is authenticated to me and it's on my wrist and things like that. So yeah, there's a few things coming up, but that does mean incidentally that this article is not going to go out on the 9th. What's today? 8th, 9th, plus 15th-ish? 15th. 15. 16. 16? 16 will do. Anyway, that's just another complete nut tangent, but a really good idea there, John. Writing down something we've learned this particular. In fact, actually, let's grab that code whilst we're here and drop that into here whilst we think about it as well. Python. I can't actually remember what my blog does. Is it language or is it lang? It might be lang actually. Can't remember. Never mind. It'll come back to me when I actually need to look it up. Right. Anyway, so let's understand what's going on. Morning, Phyllis. How are you? We're deep in trying to understand Python's for else construct at the moment. Side conversations around blogging, how we blog, when we blog, things like that. You did do the thing that you said you would. I was well impressed. Thank you. So if you weren't here at the beginning when I did point it out on RST to PDF's pull list, you'll see that Phyllis has opened a pull request with tests. Well, the tests are passing. That's a good sign, isn't it? They are test changes, if I remember correctly. LF. This is something that happened on a stream last week, where Lorna was arguing again, because it really winds both of us up, that half, if not 3/4 of all the tests in RST to PDF are just test underscore issue underscore some number. And that's rubbish for trying to work out which test does what. But yeah, it looks like Phyllis has done 49 files down here, and they've done all the renames to what they actually mean, and that's going to make working with the tests so much easier. But that's not the one we're looking at today. I'll tell you what I should do though, whilst I'm here. Let's give it to Lorna to look at. Why didn't that click through? Yeah, maybe he just doesn't come off again. There we go. It's only part one. It is only part one. I liked that. Implication being there'll be a part two, which will be awesome. So let's go back to pull requests. Let's not do it like that. Let's do it like that. Oh, for goodness sake, Rob. It's LS. We're looking at Stephen's one, which is this one here, which is this bit of code here, which is the interesting bit of code. This bit of code here. And I think, never apologise for distraction. If we weren't here for the distractions, I would be recording this as a YouTube video and putting a YouTube video up where you could all watch it and listen and see my brilliance in a perfectly scripted way, rather than watching me flail around as I try to understand so presumably relatively basic Python. But yes, let's do the distractions. Let's get warm. I'll take my hoodie off. Obviously the computer has warmed up my little room. So, do you think we can understand this code now? So we have a for loop here. We're iterating over the list of extensions that the user has requested to load into RST to PDF. For each extension, there are two possible extension names. Oh look, Phyllis wishes that PHP had a for else, which means that they understand it. You should have been here 20 minutes ago. Never mind. So here we are. We're iterating over that. The module has got two possible names. So here are the two possible names. We put them in here so we can iterate over them here. So now we are for in them. It's basically a for each loop. For each name in names, try loading the module. If the module fails to load or fail to import, then we're going to get this import error. So we're going to store the import error in exe, which I think is a terrible variable name. I think we should call it exception. Or import exception would be an even better name, probably. import exception. Ooh, doesn't like that. Variable in function should be lowercase. Oh, that's interesting. Let's not call it import exception. Let's call it import underscore exception. I think there's nothing except opinionated, is it? PEP8, yes, PEP8. Got to be PEP8 compliant. There we go, import underscore exception. So we're going to get an import exception, so we store it. Or we get an import error, so we store it in import exception. Should we call it import error? That'd be a better name. Oh, naming things, it's so hard. Import error. So an import error. There we go. Right. Because we've stored it and we've caught the exception, we're going to iterate and go over this for loop again. Why not do accept import error as import error? Because if we do accept import error as, if we do this, import error, we still need a line of code here. And what I don't know is what happens between this one and this one. Does this one now come into this one, or is this now scoped within the for loop? I think this import error is scoped within the for loop. No, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. And I don't know enough about Python. And as I said, Stephen appears to know his Python better than I do. So let's assume that he knows what's going on. So we'll stick with this for a sec. That is a good question. It can't be scoping though, unless it scopes. Unless E is only scoped within here. That's possible. Because this module here is reused down here. So clearly that variable can escape the for loop scoping. Scoping is hard, isn't it? But I wonder if that E, I wonder if you import, hang on, didn't we rename that? Let's see, put that back to E. Import error. Too many undos there. Right, let's take that line out. Let's call that import error. Now, if I take that line out, yeah, this is not in scope. Local variable must be referenced for assignment. So clearly, assigning import error here does not bring it outside the except. So that's why we have to do it this way. Okay, yeah, so there is logic to this. Okay, good. Right, Felix is saying that for loops have an else clause, which most of us are familiar with. No kidding. The else clause executes after the loop completes normally. This means that loop did not encounter a break statement. Yes, that's the thing that caught me out. See, I don't understand how completing normally is an else. Completing normally is a then, not an else. This should be called then. It would make much more sense if this was a for then statement. And then you break out. If you break out of the for loop, clearly you drop over the then. That would make a lot more sense to me. In my world, I've broken here, so the for loop has not completed correctly. Maybe it goes into the else, but it doesn't. Or if the for loop doesn't run, then the else would run. That would make even more sense. But nevertheless, it works the way it works. And if I was to guess, I assume it works the same thought process as the PHP language people have, in that they didn't want to introduce a new keyword for this feature. So they reused the else statement in the same way that PHP reused the declare functionality when they brought in strict typing, because they already had the declare keyword in the language, and that seemed less breakable. That a word? So I would guess it's something related to that, but goodness me, 4else. Ugh. Nevertheless, it is what it is. So we go back to our code. So we're iterating over the names. So we try to import the first name, we fail. We store the import error. Because we've caught the error, we iterate back over the for loop, we try again. We succeed, we break, which jumps us down to here. If we fail a second time, we must end up here. So we store the second import error. So we will always pick the second one as that import error, which is presumably why the order is first name, comma, mod name. No, maybe not. Logically, you'd want the first one to be the one you want, so it's ever so slightly faster. Who knows? But anyway, we will get mod names version. That will be the error that gets reported. So that presumably is our preferred place for it. At least it ought to be. Because we have now completed the loop successfully, but as a result have failed to import the module, we end up here. So the next thing we do is ensure that we actually have an import error. If we don't have an import error, we continue. That makes no sense. How could we possibly get here without an import error? Velius is struggling with 1811. I don't got that line either. Well, actually, miraculously, I didn't look at it. The and ors are confusing. Yes, I wonder what the order of precedence is on that line. So first name is path given and mod name. Or mod name plus, that must be concatenate, R2P. I assume that's concatenate. Well, let's try it, shall we? Let's quickly run it. Let's comment that out. Put that down. Right, so this is our test line. So let's invent some variables. Path given equals path. Mod name equals, what should we call our mod name? Foo. Yay, go us. Let's print path given. That's how it's given. Given equals. What do you reckon it is? It's one of them. I really should learn the other way of doing it. You can do. Is it the F way? I think it's that. I think you can do that. For a language where there is one way and only one way to do it, having 3 different ways to put variables into strings is incredibly confusing. Right, so let's run that and see what happens. This is the right one. Path given is foo. Hang on, that's no good. That's first name. First name is foo. So let's say there is no path given. If that's none, you'll get that. That help? Hopefully. Yes. So first name is equal to path given not equal to null. Then path given, then concatenate with mod name. Otherwise, set mod name to mod name plus R2P. No, I don't think that is quite correct. Do I put path in here? It doesn't concatenate. It's either foo or foo_r2p. So the PHP version of this is $firstname equals path given $path given question mark. It's actually no, path given : $mod name. Otherwise, $mod name $_r2p. That's the PHP version. There's no concatenation of path given onto mod name. So that's what's going on there. I guess and or is their ternary in Python. We are learning lots of Python today. We'll be good at it at this rate. Python, ternary. Let's have a look. Oh, if else would have been neater. Shorthand ternary. True or. G, Python ternary and or. All blog posts. I don't think I want to write this up. Ugh. I think this is this then and or. I really should spell Python correctly, shouldn't I? Python operators. I think that's terrible Python. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I think that code would be better written as first name equals. What was this? What was the ternary statement? God, I've forgotten already. Value true if condition. Value if true. Yeah, so I would have written this as first name equals mod name if path given, else mod name plus R2P. Let's see if that works. Oh, that's why you don't like that. Oh, it's mod name. Yeah. And then if we set path given to none, yeah, I think that would be way neater. Way more obvious code, I mean, that line there. So first name equals mod name if path given, otherwise set it to mod name plus R2P. That would be way more logical than this line here. Mod name is path giver and mod name. Or, yeah. But I'm not changing that code because that's not in this pull request. At least I think it's in this pull request. No, it's not in this pull request. Hang on, anyway, come down here, Rob. Yeah, that's not a changed line in this pull request, even though it is horrible. Right, so where were we? What I was saying was, is there any way that we can end up in this else statement where import error is set to none? I think there must be. I can't imagine what it could possibly be. So let's try and see if we can do it. Let's take all this out again. This back. Right, so let's take out. Right, so this is where we're doing that continues. Let's get rid of that and bring back this code. Keep our life simple. So there's our X loop. There. But now, instead of being range, that's now going to be underscore names. Where names is equal to none, none. What do you think happens in that situation? The exception is any other type. That's a good point. Good thinking there. Good thinking there, Fearless. That. Ooh, it doesn't like the continue. Oh, yeah, that's right. Break. No, you can't use break. Let's do none. That's interesting. Why does it print none? What? Why does that print the word none? Line 5. Print I. Oh, of course it does. Yes. I in names. Right, nice. Yeah. Yeah, so it will iterate even if you've got an array of nuns. So the only way you can do it is if that's none itself, presumably. And it doesn't even like that. You can't iterate over the none object. Yes, so Fearless is right. This is clearly one of those days where I tell everyone that they are right on the stream and not me. And sorry, Apple Avocado, I missed you earlier. Good morning. Do you help with coding C++? Possibly, in the sense that if I was doing some C++ OSS work, then we would be learning an awful lot about C++ at this point in time. I haven't written C++ in an awful long while. My first job was C++. Well, not my first job. My first job after uni was C++. And I stopped doing that job in... Oh, I show my age now. 1999? Maybe it's 2000. Maybe it's 2000. Mid 2000, I think. Yes, it must have been. Because I did a hobby project in PHP for an online gaming guild back in 1999. And I was headhunted into a PHP role after that project had gone live, because that was my first PHP work ever. So that must have happened in late 2000 when I got headhunted. So yeah, C++. Last time I touched it was the year 2000. So that's 20 years ago now since I last touched C++. So I'm not sure I'd be very good at it anymore. So we would have to do an awful lot of Googling. On the flip side, that means this is 21 years of doing PHP now. Goodness gracious me. Lots changed since PHP 3. Anyway, to get here, this could happen. And a different exception happened. How does that work, though? No, I don't think that happens. That can't happen. Now, if we don't catch the import error, for instance, because if we don't catch another error, surely it's going to go up the chain. Surely it's going to go up to whatever called this function. Add extensions. Does that make sense? You see what I mean? I'm not actually sure how that can ever happen. I don't think we can finish the loop normally and still end up in this else loop without hitting the break. Dunno, TIAS. What does TIAS stand for? I just admitted I was old. I'm not down with the cool kids. So what I'm going to do though. Going to leave them. Oh, it's a GH thing. Try it and see. Try it and see if we could do. How would we construct a try it and see for that though? Oh, I know. Let's try and load the module. Let's try and load module foo. Grab that code there. Like that. We're calling that import error now. Error equals none. That's name. And what's this? If not import error, print not an import error. Oh, we can't continue, so we'll just do an else. Okay, let's try that. So this should print out completed successfully. Agreed? Or it'll throw an error. Import module is not defined. Oh, okay. What does import module do? Oh, so look at that. It's not. I wonder if we can just do that. No, we probably can't. Oh, well, let's try and see. I wonder what Bootstrap is though. Bootstrap's an actual file. Goodness me, it's now complicated. Function that throws an error. Let's try that instead. Yes. So here's our function that throws an error. Throw. How do you throw an error? Anyone know? Type G Python throw error. Ooh. Let's raise. Let's raise. Can we raise an import error, do you reckon? Reckon that works? My wife is asking me if I want tea. Clearly the answer is yes. Hold on a sec. And I'm back. Tea's on its way. So Felix wants tea or coffee and maybe a beer later. Wouldn't mind a beer actually, but not this early in the morning. So definitely an afternoon thing. Right. So does that code work, do you think? Completed successfully. Correct, because we raised an import error. Actually, let's put another print here. End of script. Okay. So instead of raising an import error, let's raise an exception. Bet. There you go. You get a trace back. No numbers below 0. Which is slightly unsensical, but hey. So yes. If you get any other type of exception out of import module, out of import module rather, out of this function here, then we are going to not end up here. So we're left with a conundrum still. Can that code ever actually happen? Is there a silencing thing? I have no idea. Python, silence, error. Silence, what is it, a raise? How to ignore exception completely. You have to catch it. Pass. I don't think anyone has ever made that mistake about silencing that PHP made. Ugh. So, side effect is this code is better than the previous code. But I'm going to ask for a couple of changes, I think. So let's go back here. that one there. Maybe types some debugging tools, maybe. Or we can just raise some issues on the pull request and let Stephen answer them. Can we call this variable import error or similar? Sorry, better names for variables. I don't like exc. Exc. Can't even pronounce it. I'm shivering a lot today. And then here's our for loop. So my question here, which one should I put it on? Into the if statement. Is there any scenario where xc is none? Any scenario where we have entered this else statement and extra is none. I can't think of one. Oops. I can't think of one. So clear. So am I missing something? That review comment. Felix wants to know if I take part in the Advent of Code this year. I've never taken part in the Advent of Code. I don't know where people find the time. Maybe they take a lot less time than I would believe. But I don't have that sort of time. Or at least I'm not prepared to dedicate that much of time to arbitrary coding like that, which I'm sure I'd learn some stuff on. So no, at the moment I'm not. There's enough bits and bobs going on in the world, or in my world rather. I don't need to do that. And the rest of it's fine. Well, I shall finish my review. A couple of questions. No, do we need to comment? Thanks, Stephen. Or else I had to learn how for else works. Please hold on a sec. There we go. I have tea now. Look. Magic second cup of tea turn up. I didn't think my wife would want to be on stream, so the full camera seemed like a bad move. It can take 15 minutes apparently. It's just use whatever language you like to solve the problems. But yeah, I tend to go about 8 days in and then break. When the real world catches up with us. Same problem, isn't it? Thanks, Stephen. I had to learn how for us works. But now that I do, this works much better. Just a minor change and a question. There we go. That was interesting, wasn't it? We've learned a whole load of Python that we did not know before, which is pretty awesome. And we reviewed one pull request. Go us. That's cool. Actually, I'm quite pleased with that. That took longer than I expected, but actually learning something useful has got to be worth it, hasn't it? And learning this stuff is important. I'm not really a Pythonista, as is probably fairly obvious, but I am in charge of a Python project because I didn't want it to die. it's not dead. So I have succeeded in that sense. We have a test suite now. We have Python 3 support. It's still an active and live project when it wasn't. So all that is really, really good. But adding new features is something I would like to do, and I will need to be much better at Python for that. And I use RST to PDF to create presentations. The big thing I would like is the ability to set a background image on a particular page without having to do it in a style sheet. I'd like to do it within the actual RST file itself, because I think of it as content, not style. And I'm a little way off being able to have the Python skills to do that. So, plus, of course, all the maintenance work. So Fearless says the most Python that they've written is for a giant extra sketch, which sounds awesome. That does sound absolutely fun. I have an iPad, one of these, and the undo feature on the iPad and an awful lot of apps is to shake it, and I get laughed at by my family for treating my iPad like an Etch-a-Sketch. Of course, only really old people understand what I mean by it. Anyway, I think we're done. That's enough for today. Get some work done. I know my client is keen for me to get started on their stuff. I think I shall do that first, get in contact with them, get set up on their VPN and get access to their systems and the source code and whatnot. I shall do all that. And then later today I shall invoice because it's the last day of the month. Well, that's all. Have a good day, everyone. Hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did. Thanks very much for being on the chat with me. I think we learned some stuff and it was fun. I shall catch you all later. Bye-bye.